Hi, I'm Linda. Welcome back. I just finished up this pretty seascape here. I'll make it brief. I put in acrylic first, black, a background. I wanted to make sure that I had my waves right and my horizon right. But after that, after I let it dry, a little liquid clear on here, put in my blues, yellows, oranges, worked my way down. I put a yellow wash on this, kind of an orange wash, wiped it off. It's really cool. And then I just kind of rubbed out some of the dark areas and highlighted the top of the waves. Basically, that was it. So you're going to surprise yourself today, I'm sure. So get your paints out, pause and paint with me. So let's get started. And here are the paints I used: acrylic black, let it dry, and then applied liquid clear. Lamp black, titanium white, phthalo blue, orange, alizarin crimson, yellow ochre, and cad yellow. So I'm going in with black with some phthalo blue in it. It's kind of a real dark midnight blue. It's not totally straight black. It's midnight blue. And I'm going to go all over my canvas. And I like to do my sides at the same time. But I'm going to go all over. I'm using a 1 inch. You could probably use a 2 inch, but I want to make sure it's nice and even. Just back and forth movements all the way down. And I'm going to let that dry totally. Then I put piece of painter's tape, about 8.5 inches from the bottom up. And then I put some regular acrylic white. I made my clouds. I did my sun, did a few rays, let that dry. And so I've got this little foam, it's got an edge on it, the foam brush. So I'm just trying it out to see how it works. I'm just doing a little line under the line of waves underneath that horizon line. Worked pretty good, but going back to my old little fan brush, I'm just gonna make some small U-shaped waves in the distance. I'm gonna keep coming forward, and they're gonna be just a little bit heavier as I work my way down. And I'm gonna have an angle of waves, so I'm kind of going off a little bit and angling my waves a little bit, starting to form my splashes, the way the waves are gonna splash down, just creating um, some wave movement. And most of these will show, so I'm trying to keep my lines, fine, not real blobby. I mean, if I make a mistake, you can always go back and just touch it up with some of that midnight black, the little touch of blue in it. So I'm just gonna keep going down. I've got a little reference photo that I'm going by. Of course, it's not going to be exact, but I want I would let looking to have a big wave in the front. So I'm just working my way down. I'm doing the top edge of that wave right now. going over, and then the splashes, the waves are gonna splash downward. You could probably use a palette knife too, but I'm just staying with my little 4-inch fan brush. So now I'm starting to do some of my the foamy, the splashes on the top of that wave, which is going to be a little heavier. And there's going to be quite a bit of movement inside that wave. So I'm going to do some little circular motions inside that wave and then gradually downward where the movement's going to go. And if you see some areas that are too white, you can always go back in after that's dry and add a little bit midnight blue black in there to correct that. Still working on the bottom of that big splash, big waves, and the waters are flow in. Just angling the direction of the water, squiggling some lines in there. And the top of the wave, I'm going to do some little splashes on the top. So I'm just kind of pushing some of that wave action up there. And I'm going in with some of that midnight blue black, and I'm going to make the bottom portion of that big old wave. I want some darker areas in that. So I'm just tapping in at the bottom base of that big old wave. Got to give it some depth in there. And with a smaller brush, I'm just going in there and creating some water movement, some lines coming off of the top of that wave. And the bottom is going to be fairly dark. I'm going to have some lighter areas, but uh, since the sky is right above that is that dark blue, going to be blue, I'm going to make that bottom a little darker. Okay, I've let the whole thing dry, and I'm putting just a very thin coat of liquid clear. Very, very thin. I'm going to go over that once I get it all covered with blue shop towel, shop rag. It works better than paper towel because paper towel has fibers in it, where the blue shop towel doesn't leave any little hairs and fiber left over on your canvas. So I kind of fold it half and then half again, and then I'm just going to go over that real gently and just take off the excess oil. If you get too much, your, your paint's going to run. It's going to look weird. So you have to make sure it's a very, very thin coat, just enough to make it slippery. So now I'm going into phthalo blue, straight phthalo blue. I'm going to go in between in those dark areas, between those clouds. Just give it a light coat of the phthalo blue. And with another clean 1 inch, I'm going to go right into alizarin crimson. I'm going to go just below that. Line of blue and make that all crimson. Right all the way down. Make sure you have enough on there because when the yellow hits that, it's going to turn a real pretty orangey yellow. Take a Q-tip and that takes a little bit of that crimson off of that sunlight. So I'm going to go into white. I'm going to go back up and I'm going to mix that in with that phthalo and make it a pretty light blue in there, up there. I don't want it super dark, but I want it pretty medium to light phthalo blue. And then just come down just above the alizarin crimson. Taking a clean dry brush, I'm going across that, smoothing that out. I'm going to take a shop towel, dry shop towel, and I'm going to go over my clouds. Take some of that blue excess paint off of those clouds. Because I will go back over later and make the clouds a little more prominent with some white. So now I'm dabbing in some cadmium yellow. I'm going to go start at the sun, and I'm going to work my way around it. Tapping my brush every time. I want it quite yellow. So I'm going to just start in the center and work around. I don't go back into that same area there. And if you wanted a little brighter yellow, which I did, I ended up wiping off a little bit of that crimson because I wanted more of a pretty yellow sunlight. So I'm adding yellow to get that pretty sunlight there. Right underneath the blue. And I'm going to take a little bit of yellow on my fan brush, the tips of those clouds, just a little bit, without touching the blue. And with my finger, I'm going to go in and make that sunlight just a little bit brighter. Taking a blue shop towel, and think you've got too much paint, I always put a little bit of shop towels over that. Some of my paintings just to take off that excess paint. And if that's not enough, I'm going to take the shop towel and just wipe that down a little bit and putting the right amount of yellow on to get the effect that you want. Going over it, smoothing it out. I did add more yellow. Now I'm taking a little bit of titanium white. I'm going to go over some of those clouds up there just to brighten them up. And you can see that I've got in the distance some hills way in the distance, which I took a Q-tip and I exposed those, wiped some of that off, that paint off, so I exposed those hills. Adding some little floating clouds, working on that sunlight area, getting it how I want it. Put a little white in that sun. I'm going to go back into the straight cad yellow and add a little more to that sunlight there. Sun. Okay, I'm going into straight yellow, cad yellow, and I'm gonna start putting it in the water. Oh yeah, that's the fun part. So I just put wherever I want to lighten that up. And don't worry about covering the waves or anything because I'm gonna go back over that with a little shop towel with just a touch of um odorless mineral spirits on the tip of my little crop towel. I'll show you how I do that. It exposes all of that, uh, the waves. You'll see them up here. The bottom part's going to be a little darker, but I'm putting a little yellow on the bottom. So I'm starting to wipe some of that off. You can kind of see the water movement coming through. And I was using a dry drop towel, but I'm dipping it in a little bit of thinner. And you'll see what happens. I'm exposing the bottom of that big wave. See how pretty that looks? Bringing that all to the front now. I'm leaving some of that yellow on the top of the waves. I'm just exposing some of the darker areas, leaving some of the light where the light's going to hit. I'm going to leave those areas. Now that orangey area just below the sun, I'm going to take some of that off there with a shop towel, and I'm going to put the midnight black blue right under that, and you'll see on my next segment here. In the meantime, I'm going into some yellow ochre with a touch of orange. I'm gonna kind of highlight those back mountains. I'm gonna brighten those up a little bit, or at least fade them out a little bit, I should say. They're just a little bit too dark because I want them to look like they're way in the distance. I'm gonna bring that right up alongside of the mountain. And same on the other side. I'm just using a small filbert there, just a small brush to get in that narrow area. You can see that orange area right underneath the sun. To me, that looked kind of odd. The picture I was looking at had that, and I'm changing it, so you'll see how I do that. See, on a palette knife, I'm going into a little bit of cad yellow and white. I'm going to make a shoreline way in the distance, bottom of those hills. Same on the other side. Going underneath with just a little bit of yellow, straightening that line up a little bit. Okay, you see I added the midnight blue and black underneath that. And I didn't go all the way. I left the center open and I put some of that, some Cad yellow, a little bit of crimson, and right underneath that sun. Now I'm taking a palette knife. I'm going to go across and make some pretty waves that are highlighted back there. I think it looked better darker instead of that orange separation there. And when you're using the palette knife, you need to wipe off right away every time you use it because some of that dark color is going to stay on your palette knife. So I'm taking a fan brush and I'm highlighting some of those waves, white. Some of the yellow ones I'm going to leave where the, if you can imagine, where the sun is going to hit. Leave some of those areas white. Just touching up here and there. Going in with a little of that midnight blue and touching up some of the darker areas. At the base, especially of that wave, you need to, it looks nicer if it's darker in spots. Doesn't have to be solid, just kind of here and there. So I'm just going along and touching up some of the shadow areas that I want shadows. And you know, I'm almost done. See, that wasn't so hard, was it? I really love doing this one, and I hope you do too. So until next time, happy painting and God bless.